Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Today is really part 2 of the issue with the iOS 11.3.1 and the whole hard reboot fix that I did in the previous video, and whether or not that's really sustainable. So a couple of days ago I had an issue. I updated to iOS 11.3.1 thinking that, okay, at this point they're pushing it to everybody. It's been flushed out. It's already been through beta. They've got all the primary bugs worked out, and yet that doesn't seem to be the case. So case in point, my issue with the messaging/text native app is still occurring. I've had a hard reboot probably 4 or 5 times in the last 48 hours. That is not a sustainable solution. So I'm hoping that Apple gets it right with the 11.4 release, which apparently is just around the corner. But I've had this issue not only when I launched the text app and it's just a white screen, but even after some of the hard reboots and I noticed that it turned green, I wasn't getting any responses. So I checked on my iPad and on the laptop, and there were other responses there that I wasn't receiving on the phone. It's very frustrating when I use text messaging as a primary form of communication. I'd rather use text and email because there's a record of the conversation that I can point back to in case of any breakdown. Whereas if we're just having a verbal conversation, it's left up to interpretation of how you took it and that type of thing. So there's that. So Apple, if you're listening, 11.3.1 is causing issues with some of the native apps. And if you guys have experienced any of issues with any other native apps, I'd love to hear about it. Please post up a comment so we can continue to get the conversation going and make sure that, hey, the general public is not your Q&A department. The general public is not your beta testers. Those things should be worked out prior to pushing live. Unless, of course, you want to push a bunch of buggy stuff to the public to inspire them to buy the next latest and greatest thing, which you figure we're at the end of May, going into June. They're going to probably release a new phone in the fall, or at least announce it in September. And they probably want a significant amount of sales. Can they continue to have the increases that they've had up to this point? If the product is good, probably. But people are going to get tired of these antics. I mean, obviously earlier in the week, it came out that, in fact, Apple did know ahead of time about Bendgate on the iPhone 6 and the 6 Plus and the issues that they had with the chips coming off the board and the touch screens completely being dead. So is this more of Apple up to their old tricks? And I'm an Apple fanboy. I'm knee deep in the ecosystem. I've got the watch, I've got the iPad, I've got all the computers. I'm a fan that they're on a Linux platform, which is more stable than my Windows experience. But Apple, you're not making a good case for me to stick around, especially after the Pixel 2 XL camera was better. Anyway, enough for the rant. If you guys are having similar problems, I'd be curious to hear about it and what solutions that you may have found. If you're not subscribed to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button. If you so choose, mash that like button on this video if it's been any help to you. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified anytime a new video drops, provided that YouTube's algorithm is still working like it's supposed to. Anyway, until next time, cheers.